On this very special edition of the World of CONCACAF podcast, we head to Antigua and Barbuda. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of the World of CONCACAF podcast. I'm Eric Schmitz.
I'm Jonathan Slape.
And I'm Donald Wine.
And this is a very special edition for two reasons. One, it is our 20th CONCACAF Laser Focus edition.
Yeah, boy.
Let's go.
Big milestone. We are almost halfway through
We did
CONCACAF.
it, Joe. We did it.
So that it's special to begin with. The other special thing is we are actually all in the same room right now. We are coming to you live-ish from the Russell in Nashville, Tennessee. The Russell Hotel. They've got a beautiful studio here, and we are all in town, and we are recording together.
Well, you mean me. You guys live here.
Yeah, we do live here, but it's still, there's nothing like being able to do this in person, and especially having some great equipment provided to us by the Russell. So, this was, once they announced She Believes in Nashville, and we knew that Donald was coming, we were like, well, we definitely need to record an episode because we got to do it when we're all in the room.
Yeah. I mean, that is a good point that Jonathan and I live like miles away from each other and have not been in the same room to record prior. So, very special. As Jonathan mentioned, the She Believes Cup, the U.S. women's national team, the Canadian women's national team, they are participating in this year's tournament. They're playing at Geodis Park here in Nashville. We're here for that. But so everyone's in town. We're here to talk about Antigua and Barbuda. This is good because Donald's been there.
I have.
So let's get into it. Our CONCACAF Laser Focus, Antigua and Barbuda. Let's get started by talking a little bit about the country's history. Donald, tell us about the islands.
So Antigua and Barbuda, of course, those two islands are the two main islands, but there are some other small islands that make up the rest of the country. But for all intents and purposes, everyone focuses in on the main islands, Antigua and Barbuda. They were discovered, obviously the indigenous people were there, but they were discovered in air quotes by Christopher Columbus. Stop us if you've heard this before. He called it Antigua after the Church of Santa Maria la Antigua, which I guess makes a little bit of sense. He discovered that in 1493. Obviously, they came back and tried to settle it, but Great Britain colonized Antigua in 1632 and then eventually moved to Barbuda in 1678. They, in true fashion, along with the rest of the Caribbean that had been, quote, discovered or colonized by Great Britain, they became a part of the Leeward Islands and then joined the West Indies Federation. And when that federation broke up, Antigua and Barbuda finally won full independence on November 1st, 1981. So as an independent country, they really haven't been independent for that long relative to, world history. They have been around for thousands of years with the indigenous people that have, been on the island for that long.
I do think it's interesting. We've had a few island nations as of late with Laser Focus. I feel like this is the first one in a while that's an actual independent nation. It's not an overseas territory of, France, England, the Dutch. I just think it's interesting. The first time in a while that we've done one where it is they're an independent nation.
Yeah, and obviously they take some of their culture from Great Britain and the European influences that they have, but they also take a lot of influence, as we'll discuss in a minute, from the islands that surround.
So Donald, I know you have been. So you're the lone one that has been to Antigua.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the culture. There's maybe first start. I think what's near and dear to our hearts, the food. And then we can talk a little bit more about just the culture in general.
Yeah, so the food, well, first off, there's I went in October 2014 with a bunch of people. It was mainly our first kind of fully fledged international trip to a soccer game. We went to Antigua Barbuda. This was part of World Cup qualifying, and the U.S. were playing down there. So naturally, we said this is a great opportunity to visit the island. So the one thing that struck me was the food. The food is incredible there. They have a lot of Jamaican influences, a lot of Indian influences. The main thing that they have that's really cool is the chicken or goat curry, and it's wrapped in kind of a roti bread. So it's called. There was a place called Roti King, and we would go there for lunch, and it's just imagine like a big pound burrito, but instead of the burrito, it's a roti bread that's wrapped in inside is this delicious chicken or goat curry. They also had a veggie curry. It's more like a chana masala, like chickpeas, but it was just amazing. The other thing that they had that's really cool that we actually got to sample the day of the game was their famous black pineapple. I don't know how to describe this thing, but it is so flavorful. It's not. It tastes similar to a regular pineapple, but it just has an extra bold flavor to it. We got to sample some. Literally, some dude went and plucked them off a tree and was like, "I will get you guys these black pineapples. You're going to try them in front of me." He was also asking for money. We gladly paid him for the honor of having black pineapple, but it was a lot of fun. They also had blood oranges, which are the ones that you probably find at your supermarket here in the United States. Really good. The other things that they kind of grow there: corn, sweet potatoes, chilies, guava, and then they also do tobacco and cotton. But the sweet potatoes and chilies, especially, are some of the things that kind of help form some of these different curries that they have on the island.
Nice. I need to get over there. I need to try some of that. Sports-wise, I mean, of course, we're here to talk about soccer, but what else is going on the island?
The biggest one, other than soccer, is cricket. The Nashville Stadium, Sir Vivian Richards, is one of the great stadiums in the Caribbean for multi-use, but is obviously set up for cricket. Sir Vivian Richards was the captain of the West Indies cricket team for a long time, one of the greatest cricket players the world has ever seen, and obviously was from Antigua, and they named the stadium after him. So that was where we saw the game. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I did want to mention that we stayed. There's a couple of areas, obviously, of Antigua. St. John's is the capital, but we stayed in an area of the island called English Harbor. English Harbor is one of the greatest views this world has.
Oh,
period. We stayed on a villa that overlooked the harbor, and the views were to die for. The vibes were immaculate. At the bottom of this hill that we were on top of was a place called, and they're no longer there, rest in peace to this place, called the Mad Mongoose. It was actually owned by a couple from St. Louis who had moved to the island, fell in love with it, and decided to just stick around for a while. So we stayed there, and every night we basically would go down to the Mad Mongoose. This is where I got introduced to English Harbor rum, which is we've talked about the rum rankings, and I've always listed English Harbor 5 year as my favorite rum in the Caribbean. That's where we could find this place. It was all here. We're working on Eastern Caribbean dollars. We're talking, pennies for, a shot of rum. So rum and rum punches, a lot of rum punches with a lot of nutmeg influences. So, everything there was great. The Mad Mongoose was our home basically for a week, every night for lunch and dinner, and then partying into the wee hours of the morning. So, definitely, if you get to Antigua Barbuda, a lot of cruises go through there. But if you do get there, you need to get over to the English Harbor side of the island and experience these views for yourself.
So when you were there, it's Antigua and Barbuda. Did you go to both?
No. So funny story. We wanted to go to Montserrat, which is also right there. We obviously discussed Montserrat on the last episode. Yeah. And the idea was we were going to take the ferry there. There is a plane that goes between Antigua and Barbuda and also between Antigua and Montserrat. The week before, we were talking about taking a flight over for the day to Montserrat and then maybe one day to Barbuda. The problem with that was the week before we got there, the airline that they had suffered a crash on the flight from Antigua to Montserrat. So we were like, we're not tempting fate. We're not getting on the plane. We're just going to take the ferry. So me and a couple friends, we get up early one morning. I was like, we're going to go to the ferry. We'll ride that. It's about an hour ride to Montserrat. We'll see it for the day and then take the last ferry back. We get to the ferry at like 8:30 in the morning, and the guys are fixing stuff on the boat, and it looks like they're preparing stuff. Then all of a sudden you hear this screeching sound. We're like, okay, just they're starting the engines, whatever. And then one guy comes up to us and goes, "Are you here for the ferry to Montserrat?" We go, "Yes." He goes, "Ferry broke. No ferry today." So we're like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to go to Montserrat. So we didn't eventually go. We did not get to go to Barbuda or to Montserrat because the ferry was broke, and we were not taking our chances with the airlines that had just had a major crash. So, but there are people who do go. There's a lot of resorts on Barbuda, and so a lot of people go there. I will say that Barbuda was heavily damaged in a hurricane a few years back. I mean, like completely destroyed everything. So it's unclear whether it's all fully come back yet. I know the resorts are usually the first things to kind of come back, but a lot of the structures that were on the island were either heavily damaged or destroyed because of this. So they have a little bit of work to get Barbuda back, but Antigua is still rolling strong. And I think even, again, they stopped cruise ships for a while because of the pandemic, but even cruise ships are starting to return to the island.
Yeah. Is there anything else from that trip that you want to talk about, want to note about Antigua and Barbuda?
Yeah, so this is not related to this has no, cause for the island, but we went
Well,
to
this podcast is for.
Yeah, but we went to the island, right, for, like I said, for a World Cup qualifier. And that week, we were talking about, hey, is it going to be sold out? Is it going to be raucous full of people? And our driver that was taking us home from the broken ferry was like, yeah, this place is supposed to rain on Friday. This place is not showing up if it's raining. It's not going to be live. And we're like, oh, you're expecting rain? He goes, oh, yeah, there's some storm brewing off the coast. We're fine, though. It was a tropical storm.
I remember that's the Brad Evans winter game.
Yes.
No.
That's Jamaica.
You're thinking Jamaica.
Josie.
This is Alan Gordon coming in off the bench
and serving Josie for the win.
Yeah.
No, it was Eddie Johnson.
Johnson, excuse me. Yes.
Yeah,
it was
Eddie Johnson.
But I remember that game. I remember watching that game, and I remember how much rain there was on the field.
And how far the camera was away from the action.
So here's the thing. So that stadium is set up, obviously it's a cricket stadium. It's a big oval, right? And we're on the opposite side of the main stand of the stadium. So we're at the corner, right? So naturally you would think, okay, big stadium, you're going to kind of put the field, center it a little bit so that the camera can get on it. No, they centered it closer to the main stand so that they would be able to see it better. So on that goal, the team started to run towards us because they saw us before. They started to run towards us to celebrate. But we were like 75 yards away from the sideline. So they started running, and they realized how much further we were away, and they just kind of stopped and were like, yeah, like, we see you. We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll be over after, but this is a long way.
Yeah, so before the game was actually super, super muggy because we knew the rain was coming, but there was a lot of sunshine. We get to the game. The game starts. It's actually sunny. Tropical Storm Rafael hit about the 75th minute. And he hit hard. He was not at all pleased that we did not leave him a ticket at will call, and he just showed up. So, of course, it starts pouring rain, as you guys remember. After the game, it rained for like 3 days straight. Like, just incessant, the same rain that we were getting during the game, just incessant, nonstop rain. So we had actually met these American fans who had flown their own plane from St. Croix. And they're like, yeah, we've heard there was a game, and we hopped in our plane, and he's a pilot, and he just kind of took a single plane, Cessna, whatever, with 3 people. And they're like, we're just going to fly back after the game. And we're like, hey, are you guys going to get out with the storms and stuff? They're like, yeah, we should be fine. So we go to the Mad Mongoose after the game. We're partying. All of a sudden, these 3 people walk into the bar. And we're like, what are you guys doing here? They're like, oh, yeah, they would not let us take off. So we're stuck here. So literally we're like, well, you're in the, like, how did you end up here? And they're like, oh, we heard this place was the only place on the island that was open. So we decided to, mangle our way over here. And we're like, we're in the right place. We're all partying. So we partied with them. Literally, like, I think they stayed at the bar because they didn't have stuff. They didn't have all their stuff. Like, they were just like, yeah, we're only going to come for the day. We don't need anything but like a small bag. So I think they were there for like 2 days. But it was great because every time we just go down to the Mongoose and they were there, we're hanging out. And one of them, ironically, went to Duke, which is where I went to school. So we got to vibing on that too. So it was great. It was a really fun time. Great people. Everyone on the island was super nice, and even the game, the atmosphere was still pretty cool considering the fact that, again, we were so far away from the sidelines.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about soccer, I think it is time to focus on the soccer in Antigua and Barbuda. First, just some background on the structure of soccer in the country. The Antigua and Barbuda Football Association is the overseeing entity. They were founded in 1928. So there's a lot of history on the island with the game. They joined FIFA in 1970, and currently they've got, as far as the club game, they've got Premier League. This season, the 22-23 season, they were operating with 16 teams. Before the pandemic, they actually had 3 tiers in the club game. They had the Premier League, a first division, and a second division. They had a lot of club competitions that have happened over the years. They had an FA Cup that looks like it ran till 2011. I can't find any records since then of that. A President's Cup that they played in 2017 last. Charity Shield, that was back in 2010. There's a bunch of random competitions that haven't really kept going. The one I do want to talk about is in 2022, they held the Cool and Smooth Joma Caribbean Knockout, and that is the all-time Caribbean CONCACAF Island competition name.
That might be the best name that we've ever mentioned on this show.
So here's my question: did they win it?
Well, no, it was the club
the
competition
club,
of the country. I don't want to say who won it for future purposes. But yes, first of all, Joma, that's the kind of organization that's going to sponsor an island competition.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when are we getting? I think the question is when it's stimulus. When are we getting the stimulus cool and smooth?
Stimulus, hit us up on WhatsApp. We'll get that set up. But no, as far as facilities, obviously Don will talk about Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. That's in North Sound. That a lot of their games have been, the national team games have been held there. They also play some games at the Antigua Recreation Ground, which is a cricket facility, as most stadiums in this region are. But the Premier League operates out of the ABFA Technical Center. This was actually built recently, was part of the FIFA Forward program. Gianni Infantino actually came and visited Antigua and Barbuda in 2019 to check it out. But they had built a brand new facility for a playing field, technical center, great new facilities. That's part of FIFA growing the game globally. If you want to follow the federation, you can hit them up at Antigua and Barbuda FA on Instagram and Facebook. Now, let's talk national teams. Jonathan, do we have women's national team stuff that we can talk about?
We actually do have women's national team stuff to talk about. It's been a while since when we've talked about a team. There has been an existing national team. So the Antigua and Barbuda, they're known as the Benna Girls. They've actually had a decent amount of success. So currently they're 173rd in the world, which is, of course, not great. It's their current lowest at the moment. They have been as high as 92, and that was in 2009. But for a team that didn't start until 2004 is the first time that they played a national team game. So they played our friends at Anguilla in St. John. They picked up a win, and then they actually went back and played Antigua the next. They went and played Anguilla the next day. So they played them head to head 2 days in a row. 1-1, lost one.
It's nice that they can get multiple, games in, because the struggle is finding the resources and finding the time to play outside of competitions for a lot of the women's national teams in the region. So great to see that they're actually getting to play.
Yeah, so their biggest, I would say, result was during the 2014 Women's Caribbean Cup. They actually topped their group as the host against St. Vincent and the Grenadines, U.S. Virgin Islands, and Aruba. And then they made the final for the tournament. It was another group stage, and then they finished dead last in that group. So they finished not won a game, so they failed to qualify for both the women's CONCACAF championship and final. Right now there is qualification going on for the this next round of the CONCACAF women's championship, and of course we do have the W Gold Cup coming up. So for a team that's only been around since 2004, they've made a decent amount of progress. There's a lot of stuff on the team. And so it's just good to see, good on them. And I think, with the CONCACAF Women's Nations League, the Women's Gold Cup, we're going to see a lot of these teams that have made some sort of investment off the front end be able to come through and really maybe take that next step in the region.
Awesome. Now, Donald, let's shift to the men's side. Tell us about the men's program.
Yeah, so it's the Benna boys. Obviously, Benna being a big part of their culture there, the music and all that stuff. The Benna girls we just talked about. The Benna boys are they used to be fairly good, or at least decent, and they've kind of dropped off in recent years. They're 131st right now in the world rankings, but they were as high as 70th in October 2014. Their first match was in 1972, so they actually do have some history. It was against Trinidad and Tobago. It was an 11-1 defeat, and that's still the worst game they've ever played. So they've only been going up from there. They saw the bottom, and they started, we're going to go just slightly north of bottom. In October 2011, they did have their best win, which was 10-0 against the U.S. Virgin Islands. They've never qualified for a World Cup. However, the closest that they got was in the 2014 cycle, where they made the second to last round of qualifying. That is obviously when I got to go to the island to watch them play the United States. They never qualified for a Gold Cup, and in the Caribbean Football Union Championship, or the Caribbean Cup, the best they've done was runners-up in 1988, and they're currently in League B of CONCACAF Nations League. But I did want to tell you about a story that involves the Benna boys, and we go back to March of 2018. They played away to Jamaica, and they drew 1-1. That the actual game does not matter to the story, but after the game, they were trying to get ready to go back to Antigua, and they're at Norman Manley Airport in Jamaica. Their assistant coach and their equipment manager were arrested and charged with possession of, dealing in, and taking steps to export marijuana from Jamaica, and conspiracy of doing all of that stuff. So they were arrested. They were given bail, but the assistant coach was given bail. The equipment manager was not. They were, after a month, they both were placed under house arrest. They had a curfew. They had their travel documents taken away, and they had to go through the steps to try and clear their name. They eventually were acquitted of the charges because there wasn't enough evidence to prove that they were trying to smuggle marijuana out of Jamaica. But just a wild story in the sense that they went for a qualifier, or at least for a match, and then leveled up with being in jail for a couple of months because they were accused of conspiracy to traffic marijuana between islands.
This is very CONCACAF-y.
Yeah. Oh, the only thing I can remember recently that tries to come close to that is the Argentina-Brazil game where they stopped the game in the 6th minute because the doctor said, these guys haven't shown us their COVID papers, so we need to detain and deport them.
That was next level.
Yeah, but that was them trying to mimic Jamaica going after Antigua and Barbuda.
That's insane. Antigua and Barbuda, as you mentioned, they're in League B of CONCACAF Nations League. They're sitting third in their group right now. They're pretty much safe from relegation. Not quite officially there yet, but
and they're on that cusp, right? Like I said, they've been very decent in the past. They've again gotten to the second round of World Cup qualifying within the last decade. I think for them, they just need that next level player that can take them and kind of, again, a lot of times they end up shooting themselves in the foot by losing to teams that they shouldn't, right? They lose to an island Curacao is decent, but they lose to like a Grenada, or they lose to a St. Lucia or something like that. That'll really just trip them up. And yes, like you said, keep them safe, but they won't be able to elevate to the next level. I think in the First Nations League, they actually were close and went to the final match day, and then they lost.
Yeah.
So those are the things they just need to have the confidence to step up and beat the teams that they need to, because I think if they do, they are one of the better teams in CONCACAF, at least in the Caribbean Football Union. They're one of the teams that could make it to the next level and possibly move up to League A, which I think we all would say
we're trying
very
for,
much in favor.
you know,
for. Yeah,
we're in favor for. But thank you for all that. We're gonna take a quick break here, and then Jonathan is up on Real Team or Fake Team. So I know you guys you've enjoyed all the Antigua and Barbuda soccer talk, but we know what you're here for. So we'll be right back.
He is both the Miami Dolphins and the Detroit Lions.
damn right I am.
All right. We're gonna go. I'm gonna lead off here. We've got 6 teams. Jonathan has to determine if the team name is real or fake. And these are all from Antigua and Barbuda. So the first team we're doing today is going to be Cedar Grove Blue Jays.
Cedar Grove
FC.
Blue Jays FC. Ooh. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go Real Team.
That is a real team. Currently in the table that I've got that I'm looking at, they are 14th out of 16. Struggling. Donald?
All right, so my first one for you is Grenades FC.
Grenades FC. Oh man. And is Grenades an S or a Z?
It is an S.
It is an
Like
S.
I threw multiple grenades.
Gotcha. Not like the gorillas with the Z.
Correct.
I'm gonna go Real Team.
Grenades FC is one of the worst names I could possibly come up with for a fake team because it's a real team. You are correct.
All right.
Jonathan, off to a good start here. All right. Next team. Next team is Pigot's Bullets.
Pigot's Bullets. Yeah, I do have the added ability of being able to look at you guys in the face.
Yeah, last time you guys had your screens off.
I mean, I do that every time. I have a terrible poker face, and if I was having to be a real, like I would, yeah, I'd have to have a mask on or something. Pigot's Bullets. Real Team.
It is a real team. This weekend, they actually just lost to Grenades 6-0.
Grenades.
So we know Grenades beats Bullets.
Yes. Pigot's is Pigotts. I'm not sure. I didn't do enough research as to the origin of the thing, but yes. So Jonathan's sitting 3 for 3.
So my next one is Willikes FC.
That seems fairly normal. Let's go Fake Team.
Willikes FC is a region of the, I don't know where it is, but it's a real team.
Damn it. All right.
Next team. All Saints United.
Fake Team.
It is a real team. All Saints United in the standings that I'm looking at. They are top of the table in Antigua and Barbuda's Premier League.
All right, so I'm 4 for 6. 4 for 4. Yeah, 4 for.
No, 3 for 5.
3 for 5. I'm going for 4 for 6.
Yep.
So.
And the final one we have for you is Black Pineapples FC.
Fake Team.
Black Pineapples is the realest thing in the world, but that team is definitely fake.
So Jonathan goes 4 for 6. Now, full disclosure, Donald and I had to pivot a little bit because Donald, do you want to tell them the team name that you had for your fake team?
Yeah, so my fake team was going to be English Harbor FC because as of right now, I looked and scoured, and also when I was there, it didn't exist. There was no team.
Yeah.
But
English Harbor Rum is like
English Harbor Rum is
That's your
rum.
shit.
That's what I was trying to go after. But
yeah, it was actually a team. So I don't know if they still exist, but as of the 1920 season, prior to the pandemic, they actually won a couple titles in the mid 90s, but English Harbor FC was kind of a real team, so we couldn't roll with it. Now, in the research I found, as I mentioned, they were participating prior to the pandemic, the 1920 season. So in doing the research, I found information on the second division, which they were participating in that season. And holy shit, the team names in this division. I'm just going to...
Wait, before we do, can I go through the list of some of the top teams?
Yes.
The top division?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are real teams, by the way. Aston Villa, Five Islands, Grenades, Hoppers, Liberta, Old Road, Parham, SAP, Swedes, Swedes.
Yeah.
And Trinum, Trium. Those were real teams that we had, and I knew if I said Swedes, I would have fucked that up.
Yeah. Well,
would have just died laughing.
Yeah. Well, it's like, oh, that's cute. Wait till you hear this shit. So this is from the Cool and Smooth Ministry of Sports Business League football tournament in 2019. These are all second division teams. Blue Waters Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Eric's Trucking Sugar Apple Catering FC.
Eric, you did not tell us you had a team.
Antigua and Barbuda Airport Authority. KFC. Like KFC.
The Antigua KFC?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
They're KFC. Sandals. They had a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Brownie's Bread Shop. Highballers Construction.
Yes.
The Antigua and Barbuda Transport Board. Bryden's Foot Service. I'm just looking at this. Kennedy's Blue Diamonds. Yeah. Antigua Rainforest Company. These were all teams.
What I would love to do is for in the Caribbean, let's get all of the teams together that have some form of government type the airport authority from Antigua can play the Montserrat Volcano Observatory, and just kind of get everybody together that is part of some government organization.
Wait, I missed one. Master Ballers. It's with an S. All right, so Jonathan, great job. 4 out of 6 on Real Team, Fake Team. Yeah, it was wonderful talking about Antigua and Barbuda. I'm hoping that someday we'll get another chance to go down there. Looks great. I just want to say thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/podcacaf. We'll have some content. I took some pictures of us recording like we're official in here.
We look official.
Yeah. We certainly look like this is a real podcast. But we couldn't do this podcast without your support. We couldn't do this specific episode without the Russell Hotel here in Nashville. There's a light up sign above our head that says #blessed. And I'm feeling #blessed right now. Jonathan, you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter, JSlapeSSP, and then on Broadway Sports Media.
Donald?
I am at BlazingDW and also writing at Stars and Stripes FC, my other podcast. We will have an update very, very soon on what the future of that is going to be, so stay tuned.
Nice. And again, follow us at PodCacaf. You probably follow at PodCacaf already if you're listening to this, but appreciate all the support. Thank you for listening. The next Laser Focus edition we do we'll be halfway through CONCACAF.
Yes.
So we're getting there. So 20 episodes is a great milestone. Not counting all the news desks and bonuses and all the other cool stuff that we've done. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.